Now? Okay. I need to do that before then. Here.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Hi, everyone. So look along, follow along with your handouts that you should have gotten when you signed it. And I'm going to read Cesar Rodriguez, his bio. So Cesar Rodriguez has his master's degree in clinical counseling with specialty in marriage and family therapy from here, Cal State University, Fullerton. During his practicum, Rodriguez was an associate marriage family therapist at Casa Youth Shelter. Casa Youth Shelter is a short-term residential shelter for children between the ages of 12 to 17. The population were homeless, runaway, and abandoned youth. While being an associate at Casa Youth Shelter, Rodriguez's vision for each and every resident that they would successfully reunite with their families and build a strong, cohesive family unit through individual, group, and family therapy. Currently, Rodriguez works as a bilingual associate marriage family therapist at Pathways Community Services. As an associate of Pathways Community Services, Rodriguez provides individual, group, and family therapy. Rodriguez runs a Seeking Safety group, which assists clients with post-traumatic stress disorders and substance abuse/risky behaviors. In addition, as an associate of Pathways Community Services, Rodriguez has experience with Department of Mental Health Services required documentation. So let's give him a round of applause and welcome him. And thank you for being our alumni guest speaker.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Anna and Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for having me. Really appreciate it. My special VIP guests, thank you guys for coming. It means a lot for you to have you guys here. Well, just hearing your guys' introduction, it sounds like you guys know so much about self-care already. That's so amazing, because when I was in undergraduate school, I didn't know much about self-care. And just wanting to know more about you guys, could you share a little bit about what you guys do for self-care? You like to go to the gym? Nice. What else? You meditate? Oh, nice. No, you go to Disneyland? That's an expensive self-care right there.
I go on walks like anywhere.
Oh, nice. I like to do for self-care is I have 2 dogs and I walk them all the time. They're my self-care. I wouldn't have gone through grad school without having my pit bulls, and I take them everywhere I go. I probably would have taken them today if I was able to. So that's part of my self-care. So before we get started, I wanted to go over some meditation. I know you guys had a long week. You guys I think, just finished midterms, right? So, are you still in the middle of it? So I can imagine you guys are stressed out right now. A little bit, yeah. Well, before we get started, I do this meditation with you guys. What I would like you guys to do in your head, think of a number between 1 and 10, and I'd like you to rate your stress, of how stressed you feel right now. 1 being really low, and 10 being really high, that you're just feeling really calm and relaxed. So think of that number between 1 and 10. If you can click,
First,
the 5th one.
this one?
One more.
Here?
Yeah. So 1 is more stressed, and 10 is a little bit more calm.
See that guy? That used to be me. I started my days long going.
All right, what I'd like you to do right now is to close your eyes. Can we do the light? So this, make sure that you're nice and comfortable. You loosen up. Let your hands rest loosely. relax. Right now, for the next few minutes, I'd like you to close your eyes and relax. With your eyes closed, you're beginning to connect with your inner world of thought and feelings. Gradually, the external world will fade from your awareness. For the next few minutes, give yourself permission to enjoy the relaxation experience. Right now, you are free from all your responsibilities at this time. So put aside any thoughts, tasks, or concerns that may be waiting for you. If you find your mind wanders during this meditation, simply bring your awareness back to the sound of my voice. And I will guide you to a place of deep relaxation and inner stillness. Remember that you are always in control. If you wish to stop at any time, you can do so by simply opening your eyes. Now take a long, slow, deep breath in, and then release the breath. Feel yourself relaxing. Again, take a long, slow, deep breath in, and then let the breath go. Take another deep breath in and inhale. And exhale completely. Notice how calming it is to breathe this way. Notice how the feelings of relaxation are beginning to spread throughout your whole body. Continue to breathe slowly, deeply, and gently. With each breath you take, your thoughts become lighter. You may sense a feeling of spaciousness coming up inside you. Relax. Allow the gentle moment of your breath to guide you to even more relaxed state. In and out. In and out. Allow your mind to gradually slow down all by itself. In and out. You are now in a state of relaxation, and it's time to enjoy a guided journey to an inner place of serenity and bliss. As I speak, just allow images from your mind naturally in your own time. The mental pictures don't come easily to you, and simply sense your imagined surroundings rather than seeing them. Let go of all expectations and allow yourself to experience this guided journey and wherever your way comes naturally to you. Imagine that you are standing in a beautiful grassy field. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your face, your body. You can feel the lush of the green grass, soft beneath your bare feet. You hear the sounds of nature around you. You're very much at home in a peaceful place. You have all the time in the world. Feel safe. And that safety brings tranquility. moment to appreciate your surroundings. You notice a large tree growing nearby. Begin to walk towards the tree. Take your time. Even the moment, experience each step. As you walk, feel yourself sinking even more deeply in a total state of relaxation. Now you see out beneath the tree, strong branches and broad leaves hanging right over your head. Notice the tree. It is covered with delicious fruits of many shapes, sizes, and colors. There is no ordinary tree. It's great and special powers. Reach up and take a piece of fruit from the tree. Study it for a moment. Notice the color, the texture, the weight, the your hand. Now take a bite. As the fruit slides down your throat and into your stomach, something wonderful begins. So the sensation begins in your stomach and then spreads throughout your chest and your heart. Let go of thinking, concentration, feeling, nature, the sensation of happiness and love. Feel yourself gently going to bed. Take another bite of the fruit now. Taste it. Savor it. The wonderful feeling of intense is a little more. Feel yourself gently radiating this pleasant sensation of love and happiness. Now take a third bite of the fruit. Take as much as you want. Relax and allow yourself to swell up with the delightful feeling. Don't try, just let it effortlessly. Allow it to increase as much as you like. Stay with this blissful feeling and enjoy the peaceful meditation. You can remain in this relaxed state of meditation as long as you like. If you'd like to finish this meditation gradually, at this time, when you're ready, simply open up your eyes and give yourself a few moments to adjust. All right. Thank you guys for participating with this. From 1 to 10, based off what your number was previously to what your number is now, would somebody like to share if their number changed? You're still sleeping? You still feel calm? What number did you have before?
In the middle.
Right in the middle?
Yeah.
And what number are you at now?
One being the most relaxed, right?
The other way around.
Oh, okay.
A 10 or 11. Really calm. Anyone else? So I'm just wondering if you guys were to apply this same sense of meditation throughout the stressful weeks of midterms or finals, I can just imagine how relaxing it would be. So before we get started on a presentation about myself and a little bit about me and how I got to the counseling field, I brought this fun little activity called Cahoots. So if you can please get out your Cahoots app. And if you can please click on where it says Classic. And click Start. So what I'd like you to do is enter this number on your screen.
Does everyone have a phone and Kahoot?
Oh, we got Vanessa, Maxwell, Belle. You guys can use your superhero names if you have one. Your nicknames that your partner's calling you. Something creative. SS. Who's SS? What does that stand for? Is anyone still trying to get on?
Are you ready to start? Everyone join? Wait, who's missing? I know who's missing. I don't know because some of you are using nicknames.
Are you Little Pooh? You were smiling, right?
Is mine up there?
My queen.
I thought we were using whatever these colors, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Wow, that's a great name.
Is anyone still trying to connect? Okay, I think they're ready. All right, so you guys are going to be asked 10 questions. Oh.
Man, did I get it right? Oh, yeah, I got it right. How much time do we have?
It gives you 15 seconds or so.
Oh, next.
Wow.
Oh, does it time it by time?
Yeah, so the faster you do it, the more questions.
Did I get it? It says I was too fast.
Wow, you guys are pretty smart. Vicky, shout out to Vicky. Wait, hold on, before you click next. So Sigmund Freud, he did psychoanalysis, so he focuses on a lot about the past and about your dreams. Does anyone know who knew the unconscious? Raise your hand if you do that one. How did you guys know that? From strength class?
I'm taking a black class.
Yeah. Was that an easy one?
I just know it.
Yeah.
You just know things.
Val, you're still in the lead. Vanessa, you're coming right up.
Oh, yes.
You guys all got points. That was a trick Has anyone ever heard of the CBT triangle? Yeah? We'll go more into about that. Oh, you're confident. You're going to get this one right.
It's really to a circle.
No one put Mr. Rogers. How come? Oh, Little Pooh. Who's Little Pooh? Is that you? No one's gonna show themselves, huh?
Yeah.
She has a little flame next to her.
Oh, I missed the question.
It's the question on the top. Wow, pretty good, guys. 2 more questions. Yes, so art therapy is a form of therapy that a lot of children don't know how to express their thoughts and feelings. Naturally, children don't have that language of opening up and sharing. And even adults sometimes don't have the way of communicating how they feel at the moment. So art therapy is a great way to express what they're going through. It's pretty cool. Oh, who's that one person that put? Let's see, who won? CP. First place. 9 out of 10. Vanessa. Second place, and third place, Little Pooh. Yeah, can you go to the president?
It's not here. Oh.
So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about me, and I wanted to show you how my journey to becoming a MFT started. So it all started. There's
Can
a.
you click on it? Get through it?
Oh, there you go. Cool. It all started from the bottom, right? Here I am, about I want to say 4 years old, and here's my little sister picking me up from school. We didn't have much transportation, so we had a bus at the time picking me up to go to school. So this is like one of my first memories of going to school. Every Mexican family has one of these pictures. I'm also half Salvadoran, so yeah, here I am in my little panchito with a little mustache at a young age. This is my whole family, and that's my baby sister. So this is my family. My father is a 6-year-old Mexican-American male with Catholic beliefs. He's the gentleman over here to the left. My mom, as you can see, that's her, wearing a typical Salvadoran outfit. She actually wore it for my graduation when I got my master's program. So it was really neat having her wear her authentic Salvadoran outfit. My sister is over here in the picture, and these are my 2 lovely dogs. This is Cha-Cha. She's really submissive and sweet. Anytime I can give her a shout out, I will give her a shout out. She's my baby. And this is Rico. And they're just both amazing dogs, and they're part of my self-care. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't have been able to get to graduate school if it wasn't for my 2 dogs. And of course, my family too. So, being raised in a Hispanic household, we were very family oriented. La sangre pesa más que el agua. Does anyone know what that means? So basically what it means is that blood is basically thicker than water. So coming from a collectivistic background, family is everything. We move as units. We go different places, and there's a lot of movement when we come together as a family. Like I said earlier, we come from a collectivistic background. That term basically means that as humans, we identify when we have interests and goals, we move together as a family. The goal is to focus on the priorities of the group versus the individual. What some of the values I learned from my family My family, my mom is hardworking. She raised me and my younger sister. We came from a single home family household. My father left when I was, I want to say, 8 years old, and my mom raised us by herself. And she cleaned houses. She did what she had to do to make sure that she provided meals for us. At times she didn't even get a chance to eat food. Her main goal was just to make sure that we were taken care of. Another thing that I learned, part of being familismo, is that the culture of values refer to the importance of strong family loyalty, closeness, and getting along, and contributing for the well-being of the nuclear family and extended family members. So it's very uncles and aunts, we all get together. If we want to discipline one of the kids, the uncle's probably getting at the little kid, or the aunt's getting at the little kid. So it's just very cohesive. The family stays strong. The difference between collectivism and individualism is just right over here. Typically European cultures, they emphasis on their own personal goals. So a lot of times you see values or people coming from individualistic groups, and they just want to go forward and do what's best for them, best interest for themselves. And I'm not saying that there's a wrong way of doing things or a wrong way. It's just a little different, right? And it's important for me as a clinician to know the difference of working with a client that's individualistic versus someone that's a little collectivistic, knowing what their values are and how they, what works best for them, because each family has their own set of rules that works for themselves. Like I said earlier, collectivism, they work strongly for the group versus the individual. So this is about acculturation, and then this is the different four ways of acculturating. So right here is assimilation. This is when the person takes on the predominantly dominant culture, which is over here is American culture. So this is when they totally forget their traditions of being, for example, for myself, forgetting Mexican culture, Salvadoran culture, and just focusing on American culture. Right here is the integration. It's where you're accepting both your Hispanic culture and your American culture, and you're integrating them together. Now, this marginalization, actually, you reject your culture. You just completely forget about it. And separation is where you actually forget about both your home, where you were raised, and then your culture and your background. And then I saw this cool little video. Raise your hand if you've seen the movie Selena before. Okay, cool. So this pretty much illustrates me growing up.
They don't make sense. They never have. We're Mexican American and they don't like Mexican American.
That's all I'm saying, Lord,
They
my
can
son.
be mean and they can tear us apart. So the Spanish is.
What about my Spanish? I've been singing in Spanish for 10 years. It's perfect.
Singing, yes, but when you speak it a little funny. And down there, you gotta speak perfectly, or the press will eat you up and spit you out alive. I've seen them do it.
Overreact.
Yeah, the music will speak for itself, man.
Listen, being Mexican American is tough. Anglos jump all over you if you don't speak English perfectly. Mexicans jump all over you if you don't speak Spanish perfectly. We gotta be twice as perfect as anybody else. Why are you laughing? What's so funny?
Nothing.
I'm serious. Our family has been here for centuries, and yet they treat us as if we just swam across the Rio Grande. I mean, we gotta know about John Wayne and Pedro Infante. We gotta know about Frank Sinatra and Agustin Lara. We gotta know about Oprah and Christina. Anglo food is too bland, and yet when we go to Mexico, we get the runs. Now that to me is amazing. Japanese Americans, Italian Americans, German Americans, their homeland is on the other side of the ocean. Ours is right next door, right over there. And we gotta prove to the Mexicans how Mexican we are, and we gotta prove to the Americans how American we are. We gotta be more Mexican than the Mexicans, and more American than the Americans, both at the same time. It's exhausting. Man, nobody knows how tough it is to be a Mexican American.
Well, Dad, you know, it's a good thing we have frijoles and tortillas to keep our strength up for the job.
Now you're,
No, I'm not. I'm menudo.
Hey, menudo, hey.
Menudo.
now you're making me hungry.
Come on, Dad. I can do it. I know I can. Really.
Trust us.
Listen, guys, let's get through with the tour in California and then we'll talk about it.
So who can kind of relate to Selena, not feeling like you can connect to both sides of your culture? Can you talk about that?
Kind of like what he was saying, you gotta like prove that you're like more Mexican than Mexicans and Mexicans. When I go to Mexico and like I talk to like the relatives that I kind of don't really know, it's just like all eyes are on me and like my Spanish like starts to get stuttery and like I forget and they just like look at me kind of like, why don't you like go ahead?
Right, so even when you go with your own culture, they kind of look at you a little differently. Your language is a little different than ours, and so it feels a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about my education level next. So I went to this elementary school called Linda Vista, and they didn't have a special ed program over there, so they eventually switched me to another school called La Marina. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is it played a big part of making me who I am today. So I'm going to put my mom on blast right now. She's so embarrassed. So back in the early 80s, there wasn't much education about special education. So since I was in a special education class, my mom put me in a soccer team with all kids that had autism and kids that were mentally handicapped. And they were struggling with severe mental disabilities. And my mom didn't know, she didn't have the resources to, like, what soccer team to put me on. So she put me on a team that was handicapped. And my first day that I was there, the coach was like, you know, he's scoring too many goals. I think I scored like 5 or 6 goals. They put me in the defense. I was still dribbling up the field and scoring. And they told my mom, like, you can't have your son there. You need to, move him off. They moved me up. I eventually went to All-Stars, Spring Select. Eventually I went to club, and I played for many years playing club soccer. And so that was a big part about who I was as a person, and actually made me who I was, to this day. So being in special education classes, does anyone know that anyone that's been in special education classes? Yeah. Does anyone currently take any or know anyone that uses the Disabled Student Services program here? Yeah, it's really amazing. I got services there, and it really helps out. So part of being in special education classes, RSP classes, is that I got to take my tests in separate rooms. I got to get accommodations and take longer test time. I would get probably like a time and a half, 2 hours extra, which was really helpful. Part of my problem is when I was in school, I struggled with focusing and attention. I would get easily distracted. I'm not sure if some of you guys can connect with this, but sometimes when I would take a test, I would see people taking a test, finishing before me. My thoughts would just be going all over the place. They must be smarter. They're doing it obviously faster, and I'm not as smart as them. And I just felt really defeating. It was like that self-fulfilling prophecy that I cannot complete this because everyone else is completing it before me. So using these services really were beneficial to me. So back when I finished up Mission View High School, I started at Saddlebrook Community College. And during my journey there, I didn't know much about getting into college. And, in high school, they really held your hand, and they were really helpful. But at community college, they weren't really as helpful. They weren't. They just give you the syllabus, and take this, and then go from there. So I struggled for the longest time. They told me that I had a learning disability and that I had symptoms of ADHD, and I just was really devastated at the time. It was so hard for me to focus in school. I didn't have good study skills, so it actually took me 10 years at a 2-year community college. It took me really long. I would drop out of school, my attention wasn't there, and I didn't give it all when I was at Saddlebrook Community College. However, one day I woke up and I just really fatigued. I was just tired of where I was at in my life, and I said, man, if I'm going to not succeed in school, I need to definitely swing really hard, and I need to really give it my all. I realized I had a learning disability, and that was completely true. And I struggled even attaining information, and I'm not denying any of that. However, I did not give it my 100%, and I struggled beforehand. But however, once I got to my bachelor's degree, it only took 2 years when I was at Cal State Fullerton, the Irvine campus. And I actually got on the dean list. When I was at Saddlebrook Community College, I had a GPA of like a 2.2 GPA. And when I got accepted to Cal State Fullerton, I said, wow, they're really inclusive here. They accept anyone here. And then when I finished my bachelor's, I ended up getting a GPA overall for the last 2 years of 3.86, I believe. And it's because I really applied myself and I really decided to put my all into this. And once I finished my bachelor's degree, I thought to myself, wow, I was doing really amazing. Why stop now? Why don't I continue going? And I got my master's degree in clinical counseling with a specialty in marriage family therapy. My thesis was on animal-assisted therapy to reduce recidivism rates. So what that basically means is my thesis was about 80 pages long, which is so stressful. So I'm telling you guys right now, if you guys decide to go to grad school, it's very stressful. You write long papers. It's just part of the whole thing, but you can definitely get through it. But I wrote about how having an animal in therapy really provides a sense of rapport. So there's when you start petting animals, you release oxytocins. You build that connection with that animal, and you start feeling a lot of trust. And that trust brings compassion. And naturally, when someone comes in to meet a stranger, for example, when a client comes in to meet me for the very first time, I can imagine a lot of them feel reserved. Now I don't feel as open and comfortable. And just having an animal present in the room really brings that tranquility, that calmness of like, I see you have a pet. I feel trust. I can trust you. I feel calm. So having animals, especially dogs, really helps inmates to not go back to jail. They learn a set of skills of being caring, training a dog, and all these skills help them to not go back to jail. So part of being in grad school, we are required to do a practicum. Raise your hand if you know what a practicum is. What's a practicum?
You do an internship to gain experience out in the field.
Basically, and another way of saying it is you're basically like working for free and not getting paid, right? So that's basically what it was. So when I was in grad school, it was the toughest time in my life, especially when I had to do my practicum. I volunteered, not volunteered, but I worked there at Casa Youth Shelter, and I had a commitment of a year working there. And I want to highlight to you guys, it's so amazing when you can get that experience of doing practicum where you're actually applying everything that you're learning in school. I know you guys are at the stage right now where you guys are just gaining this knowledge. However, once you get to the higher education, there's a lot of application of what you're learning and you're taking into the field. So it's really amazing. So I definitely suggest that you guys do that. So part of what my role was at Casa Youth Shelter was we worked with children between the ages of 13 to 17. They were in complete crisis, whether there was some kind of domestic violence at home, some sexual abuse, sometimes from parents, family members, or sometimes from parents' boyfriend or girlfriends. They were homeless. They were at-risk youth. They just came to this country illegally through the coyotes, and they didn't have a place to stay, so they stayed at our shelter for a short period of time until they could find a place where to go. This short-term shelter helped out to either reunify back home or to go to a long-term shelter. Now, if they went back home, part of our goal was as clinicians was to reunify them back home. And part of the way we did that was called something what we call progressive reunification. And what that basically means is that we work on goals on improving their communication, on coping skills, on ways that they can regulate their thoughts and their feelings whenever they're having a moment of despair where they're just really irritable. So part of the time there, they had intensive therapy skills. They had therapy 5 days a week. They would see their individual therapists 3 days a week. They would do group therapy 2 or 3 days a week. And we also, the whole emphasis of working there was doing family therapy. So it was a lot of working on the family systems. I believe that working within the family system really enhances my clients because I think family plays a big factor into who we are today. So yeah, that was my time working at Pathways. I worked there for a year, and it was really cool. They gave me a stipend for $1,000 for a year. I basically worked 1,000 hours. It's basically made, you do the math, it's $1 an hour. But it was one of the hardest times of my life. However, I don't regret it at all. It was such an amazing experience, learning from my supervisor and learning from other people that worked there. And it was the greatest time of my life, even though it was one of the hardest. The next company, and this is where I currently work out right now, I work at Pathways Community Services. I'm a bilingual marriage and family therapist. So we work with low-income families. We work with families that predominantly the parents don't speak any English at all, and the children, sometimes they speak both languages or sometimes they just speak English. So a lot of times during sessions, I'm having to translate. First, I'm having to validate my client parents, and then I'm having to translate to the children what they just said, and then getting a reaction from them and validating them, and then translating to them. So it's a big thing that's going on. So there's a lot of people in need of clinicians that are bilingual, whether you speak Spanish or Vietnamese or another language that you speak of, especially within the minority group. I know for myself, coming from the Latin population, that a lot of us thought therapy was kind of weird, and we don't really talk about our feelings. We have to man up, and we have to be really strong. So talking about feelings wasn't really something that we naturally did. But it's really great. I get to see families really connect, and for this 1 hour, it's kind of like magic, where they come in, they have all this these defense mechanisms, but for 1 hour, they're completely transparent, and they're open up to the experience. And I say experience because it's a moment that you can never forget. For an hour, people are talking about things that they could never talk to their partners about, to their family members about, and you hear these secrets that you always hold into your heart. And that's why I love what I do as a marriage family therapist. So what is therapy? I'm going to just show you this little video. This is during the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, just to give you a little, you just click on watch on YouTube. So basically, you're going to find out what happens. But this is pretty much the process of therapy. And if you have tissues, I definitely recommend getting your tissues. Just warning you guys.
I am down and oh my soul so weary. When troubles come and my heart burdens me, and I am still and wait here in silence till you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to overcome stormy seas.
So, yeah, that's sad one, right? And that one touches me every time I watch it. So basically, that's what it's like doing therapy. Someone comes in and they're having a hard time going through what they're going through, and we collaborate together as a team. And I say team because we come and we work together, we communicate, there's a fluidity of conversation and transparency. Now, in this journey, we walk hand in hand with them. However, our ultimate goal is to let go and let them find out what best works for them and get them to their goal of finishing the finish line. So, given that we have a few more minutes left, I'm just going to breeze through this stuff really quick. So part of the theory that I use, and this is how I conceptualize, basically what conceptualization means is my lens of how I see my clients. So it's through empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard. So the important concept of these theories is basically that it's a humanistic approach. Everyone's naturally good, and everyone has the potential to grow. So it's really giving the emphasis on the client that they have this natural ability to change. So part of Carl Rogers' theory is that, according to him, that people act in a certain way so they can be accepted, whether it's with their significant other, whether it's with a family member, and they have to act in a certain way. So if children can feel conditions of worth, they start feeling judged and hear these critical messages. If I only act a certain way, I will be accepted. If I act a certain way, I'll feel loved. But my whole goal through that 1 hour while they're in therapy with me is that they feel no messages of I'm feeling worthy or unworthy, that they can actually be, they can be organic and they can actually be themselves and not act in a certain way. So it's really about being congruent with who you are as a person. Some of the goals of person-centered therapy is the ability to be present at the moment. Whether someone's bringing up something in the past or talking about the future, it's really about being mindful and staying in the here and now, and about being congruent and being self-aware of what's going on for you right now. It's a therapeutic alliance. So basically what that means is it's about building that rapport with your client, building that relationship. Without having that relationship, it's hard to make that change because it's all about connection. I'll give you an example. If someone is smoking cigarettes and they're really struggling with quitting, and one of their friends tells them, hey, why don't you just stop smoking cigarettes? It's so bad for you. Like, let me give you all these facts. Like, it's bad for it's cancerous, it's bad for your teeth, and it's a really bad habit. How many times in your guys' lives where you guys tell people facts and people just naturally get defensive? Does that happen? Raise your hand if that's happened to you with someone you know, right? And when you come from a place of just like giving them facts, people naturally become really defensive. So the whole goal, instead of going against what they're saying, validate that. Try to find a deeper sense of why are they smoking cigarettes, for example. Try to understand what was the trigger behind it, what was the reason behind it. And once you can have that therapeutic relationship, once you can build that relationship with them, and that trust and that compassion, and then that's when the change happens. Oh, that makes sense. You started smoking when your father left you when you were 13 years old. And then they started realizing, oh, okay, that's when it started happening. And that connection actually leads to change. This is just congruence, to just talking about a way of being congruent with our clients, whether we agree or disagree with what they're saying. It's about just being congruent and not liking them. We'll skip through some of these because they're kind of, empathy, real quick. The difference between sympathy and empathy is empathetic responses is really connecting with the person versus sympathy. It's like really putting it out there. It's your problem, your stuff that you're going through versus what I'm going through. I won't have enough time to talk about TFCBT. I'll just actually talk about it really quick. Basically, what TFCBT is, it's trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy. And with people go through certain traumas and it impairs them. Where I work at currently, I work with children. So they go through these symptoms, and a lot of these symptoms lead up to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects them. It affects them to isolate themselves, to wanting to connect to people, or even wanting to connect to their own thoughts, or they really not wanting to go where they used to go to. Trauma-focused component. So once there's a diagnosis of PTSD, our goals are to do some psychoeducation and relaxation, parenting skills, and all these different things so we can help them out through what they're going through. And next, this is the top of the mountain. I know I finished grad school. However, this is not the end for me. This is something that just because I finished school, I know that there's much more out there for me. And I want to highlight this to you guys. I know you guys are all, I believe, all undergraduate students, right? Whether this is just it, and you're just about to finish up soon, whether it's seeking higher education or whether it's going for another job, or whatever you decide to do in your life, just make sure that you guys pause, reflect, grow, and continue doing that. And before I finish with my presentation, I want to share with you guys a little bit about growth and changing. I believe that desire and will to win is everything. I am the way I am, but that's because I always have something burning. It's a big desire in me to change. There's always something that's always saying, Caesar, there's something that needs to be done. You're supposed to go for it. Caesar, you're supposed to do something special. You're supposed to make a difference in your life, Caesar. What's the difference between what a $500,000 per year person do versus the person that makes only $50,000 per year doesn't do? You look outside and you study these two individuals. On the outside in, it looks like very the same. They're the same age, they're the same sex, they're the same background. They come from the same, they went to the same school, they got the same training, they got the same position, they got the same contracts, they got the same benefits. They're all successful, they all work hard, they all take care of their families. And they make tough commitments. But what is the difference? What's the difference between the $500,000 person per year versus the $50,000 per year? He pays the price a little bit more. He works a little bit more. He comes to work a few minutes earlier. He stays a little bit longer. Whether that's in school or whether it's in work, you push yourself and you push it a little bit more. He saves a little bit more. He bleeds a little bit more. Leadership is everything. You show me anything in the United States of America that wins, I'll show you a leader that works. You show me a successful club. You show me a successful organization. You show me a successful Boys and Girl Scout club. You show me a successful school. You show me a successful club at Cal State Fullerton. And I'll show you guys a leader. You see, I used to think at one point in my life that you have to be smart to win. I used to see these people with these fancy cars, these fancy outfits, these fancy way of talking. They just the way they acted, I was so intimidated. I used to think, wow, damn it, Caesar, you're never going to be successful. I used to hear the same thoughts from my father. He used to tell me that you were not amount to anything. And back then, I would just want to throw in the towel because I did not believe in myself. I find that smart people always find ways to win. They always try to do things faster. They always try to do things smarter. Another thing I find about smart people is that they are never not doing anything. They're always keeping themselves occupied. You see, someone like myself, someone like Caesar, he can't do it. Someone is in special education classes, someone that came from a broken home family, someone that came first generation, someone that came from a mom that came to Coyotes coming here illegally to America. He can't do it. But I did it. See, everyone in America can win. Everyone. They almost get there. They're almost over the hump. The almost is everything. The almost is a way of life for them. But winners do it, and do it until they get the job done. What do you want to do? They do whatever it takes to get the job done. They continue doing it. And they don't just talk about these great things And once they reflect on it, they're so proud of themselves. We need leaders in America that can do it. If you want to become someone, do it. If you want to be financially independent, do it. If you want to break that bad habit, do it. You want to be that first person in your family to graduate and get that degree, do it. You want to be the President of the United States of America, do it. I hear so many people say to me, Caesar, you can count on me. Wonderful. Just do it. Caesar, I don't want to work on my old job anymore. I'm just so tired of working 9 to 5. I'm just tired of it. Wonderful. Caesar, this is the last chance. I can't do this anymore. Wonderful. Just do it. See, you don't understand. This is my last stop. I cannot continue doing this anymore. Super duper. Just do it. Caesar, if I could just pay my debt, if I can just pay through school, I will be successful. Super duper. Just do it. Caesar, if I can just sell my house, I can make some money to take care of my family. Great. Just do it. You don't understand, Caesar. I'm barely making ends meet. I'm working hard to go to school. I can barely afford to take care of myself. How am I going to take care of a family? Just do it. Caesar, I'm not making any money. What can I do? Just do it. Caesar, I guarantee I'm going to win this contest now, Caesar. Super duper, just do it. Caesar, I'm over the hump now. Super duper, just do it. Caesar, I'm about to graduate and be the first one in my family to get my master's degree or my doctorate degree. Great, just do it. Caesar, I want it so bad I can just taste it. I can feel it salivating in my mouth right now. Just do it. Caesar, I'm the vice president of my job. I'm the first female to be a vice president of my job. Can I quit now? No, just do it. Caesar, I don't think I can do it anymore. My arms are hurt. I'm tired. You just do it. Do what, Caesar? You just do it. And you do it, and you do it, and you do it. Caesar, my whole life I always wanted to be someone important. Well, then great. Just do it. Caesar, I want to save some money so I don't have to go through this, what I went through previously before. Great. You just do it. Caesar, you don't understand. At my previous job, I got training, and it wasn't as much training as these other people's. How am I going to compare? How am I going to compete with these people? You just do it. See, I'm the first African-American person to go work at this job. You don't understand. They're judging me. They don't understand me. Don't get it, Caesar. You just do it. Caesar, you don't understand. I am the first person to get this job, and I was the highest person on my previous job. Are you telling me I have to start from the bottom? Yes, you just do it. You really have to do that one. Caesar, what's the primary difference between winners and losers? The winners just do it. They do it, and they do it, and they do it until the job gets done. Now, guys, I'm not sure where you guys want to go next in your guys' life. I have this natural ability of wanting to succeed. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday, because I want to work out. I have that ambition. I don't have an alarm clock waking me up at 5:30 in the morning where I'm waiting for an alarm clock to wake me up so I can do what I need to do. I have this passion, I have this drive, but I want to be successful. I know if I maximize my time, that I will get to where I want to get to in my life. A lot of people here at Cal State Fullerton, I remember seeing that they just wanted to just have fun, right? But they didn't want to put in that work. I'm asking you guys today, put in that extra work. Have that desire. I might hurt someone's feelings right now with what I'm about to say, but some of you guys right now care more about your phones than you care about being successful. Hear me out one more time. Some of you guys care more about what other people are doing on social media versus about being successful. If you want to be successful at whatever you want to do, you have to put some extra work. Get your arms dirty. Wake up extra early. Stay with the tutor a little bit longer. Bug your teachers. Use them as resources. Do whatever you have to do. Make that time. I thank you guys for having me over here at this program, and so thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. That's my time.
So now we're gonna open it up to Q&A. Caesar, would you like more water before Q&A? So students, based off of what you heard from Caesar's incredible story, and thank you so much for being so open with our students and sharing that. I know it helps every single time to hear someone's full journey, full and honest journey with the ups and the downs, and just learn more about counseling itself with your presentation. So if anyone has any questions for him about his presentation, about counseling, the time to ask.
As a person with abilities, do you ever feel like the need to prove yourself in your education or even in your workplace now? Do you feel like you have to constantly prove yourself?
Yeah, that was my own internal dialogue. I know naturally other people are not thinking about competing with me. That was my own things I was struggling with before. It was knowing that I had to prove myself. I had to work extra hard. They didn't understand that when I would have to take a test, I would have to take it in a separate room. And I felt like I had to work a little bit harder. I had to do things that naturally other people that just can read information and it can be in their head and they can just say it naturally. I had to take notes. I had to highlight everything. It took me much longer to study for something. I had to find study skills to help me to enhance my skills. But yeah, a lot of times, just like what you're saying, I felt like I had to work a little bit harder because I didn't get it right away.
I feel like it also has helped you.
Yeah, definitely. It's helped me become more organized. Having a learning disability where I didn't know some of my struggles, just knowing that I needed that constant structure, that really helped me into my field that I'm at now, because I need that constant structure. Because without the structure, then I want to have a foundation of where I need to go or what I need to do. So it really helps me out. So when I'm working with a client, it helps me to conceptualize. Okay, I just heard this. I need to organize in my head. When I hear this, what category am I putting this into? So it can be an efficient counselor. Yes.
What was your undergrad? I'm sure you mentioned.
Yeah, I got my bachelor's degree in sociology, and it really helped me out getting my bachelor's in sociology because it focuses on the environment and focuses on people. And when I do family therapy, I definitely focus on the environment, the family, the school, where they live. All that plays a factor into what is presenting with symptoms of whether it's depression, anxiety. All that plays a factor into who they are.
Family want child to be one way, but fit a certain role, but then the child wants to pursue another role. How do you deal with that in that setting? Because that's especially in in Hispanic way,
Yeah.
It's very common and very very difficult to navigate for many people. So how do you deal with that? And you see it in
Yeah, I see it a lot, especially with the families I work with. And you bring up a wonderful point about culture playing a big factor. And kind of like what I was showing my slide earlier, collectivistic groups versus individualistic groups. So I have to be very mindful when I'm speaking to my clients on what works best for them. Ultimately, my client is the child. However, I also have to be very mindful of how their family plays a role. Because if I'm speaking to a family that's typically Hispanic, and they come with these values of we do things as a family, for my family, for example, for my mom, she really spoke about education and the importance of it. However, that's not happening in a lot of Hispanic families. It's about, ¿por qué no estás trabajando? ¿Por qué no estás ganando dinero? How come you're going to be going more schooling? For what? You already got your bachelor's degree. Why are you going to continue going to school more? Why don't you work? Why don't you take care of the family? It's very collectivistic, right? So if I'm looking at that perspective, I'm noticing I have to be very respectful to the parent because this is the framework that works best for them. Like I said earlier, there's not one way of working, which is one better, one is not better. It's just what works for the family, what's functional, right? So I listen to how culture plays a factor. So during this period of time, it's called the assessment, where I'm just gathering information And I want to know how important is their assimilation? Are they integrated? And that plays a factor to where they're at. And then I have to find out what's best for them. Ultimately, I can't tell them what to do as a clinician of, oh, you have to let your son continue going to higher education, or, oh, you have to go quit school so you can continue working. Because I can't tell them what to do. They have to do what's best for themselves. But what I can do is help them to realize what they're wanting from that relationship, so they can be transparent, open, and share with their mom, or the mom can share, this is where I come from my culture. And balancing that out, because it's like juggling, right? It's just like respecting two different cultures and integrating into one. Did I kind of answer? Did that help out?
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So what do you like to do for your self-care, being a counselor, and just for you personally? And my second question was, how did you get through, different obstacles in your life and keep persisting?
I'll answer the second one first. Because of that person right there, my mom, she kicked my butt. She wouldn't let me quit. Many times I didn't believe in myself. I doubted myself a lot. And yes, I had a learning disability. I'm not going to take that away at all. However, I had to work really hard. I had to work a little harder than everyone else. And my mom wouldn't let me quit. She had this inner desire and drive, and that's the way I am today. She wouldn't let me just be where I'm at. She just wanted me to continue going, continue pushing me. And for your first question, what I do for self-care is I love spending time with my dogs. They have their own Instagram page, so I'm always posting about them. I stalk my dogs. I have a pet cube app where I'm like actually seeing what they're doing. I can look at my app right now. Huh?
You have like the camera?
Yeah, I have the camera, and it has a little flash beam. So if I want to play with the laser pointer and play with them while I'm at work, I play with them. Don't tell my supervisor that. I like to do that in my free time. What else? I love snowboarding. I haven't gone yet this winter, but I love just being out in Mother Nature. I think it was you that was saying that you like being outdoors. I love being outdoors. I love hiking. I love playing soccer. That's a big part of what I like to do for getting out there and living out on the pitch. I'm sorry, for self-care. I like watching Netflix.
So a lot of times our students are debating between social work and counseling. And whenever we have like a social worker, that sounds great. Whenever we have a counselor, that sounds great. Did you ever have that debate? And if so, how did you decide on counseling?
Well, I got to be careful what I say because there's a social worker here right now. So for me, yes, I did have that internal dialogue of like, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a therapist? And Cindy, if you could please share your two after I respond, share how you got to yours too. But for me, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a therapist. I just wanted to focus on working one-on-one with my clients. For me, social work was a little bit more broad. It's amazing. And what social work can do, and Cindy, if you can please share a little bit more, it's so broad that you can do so many things. You can do clinical work, you can work with environments, you can work with organizations, and it's just such a broad way of working anywhere you want. I knew for therapy, that's just where I wanted to go, so that's why I chose MFT. Mind sharing?
Well, yeah, social work is a lot more broad. Like the way that it was explained to me is more a holistic approach. When you look at therapy, it's more of a micro. You're looking at a micro state, so rather than macro. For me, I also knew I wanted to do therapy, and I think my biggest concern was, well, why am I going to do social work if I just want to do therapy? And I actually have an aunt who's an MFT, when the program is Caesar, and she was the one that was kind of pushing me. I know you want to do therapy, but you have to do the social work. I actually applied to the social program at USC, and they had a really great curriculum, so that was kind of another part of why I chose the social work program. But yeah, it's more of a holistic approach, whereas the MFT program is specific to theory. My social work program was theory-based, medical social work, the macro level, which is more like the political aspect of how the systems work together. And then there's business social work and the legal aspect. So as far as me, personally, I liked the idea of getting what I wanted to do, which was theory. So the first year is kind of, just to kind of give a background. Every program is different, but the first year program was, we want you to be holistic, we want you to know everything, we did a foundation, and then after your first year, you could decide on what you want to do. If you want to do business social work, you go into that. If you want to do mental health, which is the track that I did, then you go into that. So I felt like I had a really good foundation before I went into the specification. And I am a therapist, I do the same thing that Caesar does, but we just have a different view of how it is. But I think it's the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, when you start working in the field, you end up collaborating and consulting with different types of therapists and different systems. So you're kind of forced to work with the system anyway. But I was happy that I was able to learn about the systems prior. So I kind of had that foundation before I went. So it's really the same thing, except just like when you guys do your general education, we kind of had to do our own general. So, the medical aspect, the political aspect.
Yes.
How was your first session? How did it go?
I was terrified speaking to another human being and just nervous. My very first day, not even seeing a client or just going to training, I brought my toothbrush with me because I was so nervous because I knew I was going to throw up. I was so anxious. I actually had to pull over from the freeway and I threw up. And I actually told my supervisor this, and she ended up telling the whole clinical team, but I was so nervous. So that was my introduction to like the counseling field, me feeling really anxious. So when I first saw my first client, it was like a deer in headlights. What do I say? I know how to talk. I feel very confident. I'm an extrovert, but just for the first few times where I was meeting people, I was very intimidated. What was I going to hear? What do I do if I hear child abuse? What do I do if I hear some kind of domestic violence? If I get triggered? I didn't really share that much about countertransference. You guys know about what countertransference is?
Have something going on in your life or something in the past, and then someone presents it right then and present, and just get the emotion from the thoughts back and contribute your
Exactly, 100% what she said. And I was nervous of having that countertransference where I would hear something, it would trigger. And but what's really good about going to the counseling program here at Cal State Fullerton was that we work on a lot of self-care, and we focus. It was like the whole time I was in grad school, it was like therapy. It was a little overwhelming at times because I had to focus on what my struggles were, and I had to find out what and how to go get over them. And it's a process, right? It's not something that you just say, I'm over it, right? It's just something that you continually practice and you do better. So when I do hear something, I'm like, oh, okay, something just happened. However, I cannot go into that state of mind right now because once I'm in my own stuff, I'm not going to be an effective counselor. I have to be present because my client is going through something similar. However, it's a little different. I have to be very mindful of that and give my best work by just focusing on them and not focusing on myself because it's not about me at the moment. Yes.
Have you ever found it, like if it was necessary or you were so tempted to actually bring it up, like to the client, like you're transferring? Like, would that ever be beneficial?
I haven't personally. However, the only way I believe sharing some countertransference, if it's only supporting the client. Now, if I share something about me and I know it's going to help the client out, then I would definitely do it. But if I do it just because I need a vent, because I went through some kind of father issue or I went through some other kind of issue similar to them, and I'm just venting just to put it out, that wouldn't be really therapeutic. It would just be more about me.
How did you decide on your thesis topic? And was that something that you knew you always wanted to do? Like when you're writing your statement of purpose, did that align with what you ended up doing?
Well, I didn't know I was going to write my my thesis on that from the get-go. I wasn't towards the last year, but I wanted to come into this field to break stereotypes. I know a lot of men don't want to talk about what they're going through. A lot of men are very rigid. A lot of them have to man up, have to be very strong. Don't be a crybaby. Don't be a girl. Don't be. A lot of things are not appropriate to say right now. But a lot of times they would just be like, you have to be stronger. And it was really unfortunate. So when I wrote my thesis, I really wanted to focus on a population that I could really connect to. So I wanted to work with males. So ultimately, my thesis was on inmate males. And when I think of a population that's very rigid, very strong, and have those strong traditional ways of being, I wanted to break down those barriers. I really wanted my clients to know that while you're present in that moment, that it's okay, and feel open about it. And that's a population I generally like working with. I like working with women too. However, I have like a special part of my heart that when I talk to males, it's just something extra special because I did really grow up with my father's side, where you were able to talk about this kind of stuff. But with my mom, I'm just like, well, you can open up, you can talk about whatever you're going through. And then I wrote about animals too because I saw how much what I got from having my 2 pit bulls around. Grad school was one of the hardest times of my life. But just knowing I had a companion, and I thought to myself, like, wow, I feel so much better having an animal. I wonder what that looks like in a therapy manner. So what I did was I conducted a few interviews. I did some qualitative researches and quantitative, and I was able to identify some great research and evidence supports having a dog in the room enhances people wanting to come to therapy. A lot of times people come to therapy and they're not really mindful of the therapist's time. A lot of times we get a lot of no-shows. But when there's an animal in the room, people really want to, oh my gosh, is your dog going to be there? I'm excited. Like once a week I get to see your dog and they get so excited. So it's one of those things that what I found out in the research that it would eliminate no-shows. And then part of what we were talking about earlier about self-care is having an animal there is so amazing for the client. However, it's so amazing for the clinician because you will not get burnt out. It's a field where you're just hearing all these sad things. But knowing that you can have your animal there present with you and you can bring your dog to work, it's like self-care to the max for me. It's amazing what that research shows about having an animal, especially for a clinician, because a lot of therapists, unfortunately, they get burnt out because they don't practice their self-care. And they just get so burnt out with paperwork, with no-shows, with all these sessions, all these productivity hours that you have to reach a certain amount of hours in order to reach your goals.
So you actually, right now, you actually work with her?
Right now, I don't currently work with my dogs right now. I'm in the process of getting them to become certified to be animal-assisted therapy dogs. So that's my goal. I want to open up my private practice and have kind of like a mini farm kind of. I want to have a whole bunch of dogs. I want to have, we can afford maybe a horse and do some equine therapy. I would love to have animals present in my sessions because I think. Yeah, rabbits. Yeah. Yeah, it's so great. Like, there's so many different types of animals that are considered animal-assisted therapy. Really, really beneficial too. Yes.
I know you've heard like your tragic stories. How do you keep those stories like at work, or does it affect you when you go home? Like, how do you separate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah. So where I'm at currently right now, I have a clinical team. There's psychologists, there's doctors, there's people getting their PsyD, there's other clinicians, there's social workers there, and we all collaborate as a team. So when I'm meeting with my clients, I let them know from the get-go that, yeah, you're meeting me with one-on-one. However, I work with, my team, and we work to ensure that we give you the best of care. Sometimes I might consult with my supervisor. Sometimes I might consult with a social worker, a therapist, just so I can ensure the best of care. So when I do hear something, I collaborate with them, and then they help me out to become a better clinician. Maybe I might videotape a session, and they might pick up something that maybe I was triggered at that moment, and they notice that my voice cracked, or I seemed very irritated, or I was closed off. A lot of it they focus on. So it's really weird. They focus on the non-communication. So just the way I'm sitting, if I'm closed off, when someone's talking about something, if I'm just like irritated. So they really enhance my skills where they're able to show me like something was going on. And then they provide help so I can kind of not get my own therapy, but they can help me become a better clinician and see areas I can't really see. It's kind of like driving a car, and it says on your mirrors that you can only see a certain distance, but you have a blind spot. Having a clinical team is like having people looking over your blind spot so you know what you're missing so they can help you out. So you don't take it home, because some people do take it home, and that's when they burn out. And this is a field that typically people go into it and then they burn out really quick.
Well, with that, I want to close, but I want to remind you on your handout with Cesar's biography, there's his contact information. So you could reach out to him if you have more questions and just want to connect with him. He's a great person to connect to. And also, you can connect afterwards. I mean, it's not a hard close. We got to get out of here. So if you want to connect with him after we take a group picture, by the way, he'll stay for a couple more minutes. So let's give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. And actually, to his mom, probably should have a round of applause for a big support of Cesar and throughout his career and academic career. So thank you so much.
Thank you.